Okay, welcome to this instructional video. Thank you for joining. You're watching this video because you are a deacon or director at Cascades Baptist Church. And I just want to say thank you so much for doing the ministry that you do. And I want to help facilitate that being better, more smooth, and just operationally focused. So for this meeting, we are going to do three things. They are right here. Right here. I'll highlight them for you. We're going to do three things. Number one, talk about the new format of our quarterly meetings, and then what you're going to do with elders as deacon and directors. Number two, how to fill out the paperwork. And then number three is kind of the follow-up things, what you're going to do this year with your assigned elder. So three things in the meeting. Number one, new format, bringing in directors. Why are we doing it that way? Number two, how to fill out the paperwork for the meeting, I believe on the 24th. It'll be in the email. And then number three, what you're going to do this year with your assigned elder. So those three things in this meeting. I've done this once already, and it was 30 minutes. So I'm trying to get it to 20 minutes because I want you to work on your stuff, not listen to me talk. Okay, here we go. Okay, so why are we changing the deacon meetings and adding directors? Well, if we go to the Bible here, you're going to see this. In Acts 6, 1 through 3, you're really familiar with the story. After the church is developing and moving, you have this divvying up of the leadership. And we're looking at the operational focus here, the appointment of the first deacons. Now, in these days, when the disciples were increasing in number, thousands added in a day, this thing is moving. A complaint by the Hellenists arose against the Hebrews. That would be normal because their widows were being neglected in the daily distribution of bread. And then it goes down here. I'm just going to skip down. Therefore, brothers, pick out from among you, this is their correction, 7 men of good repute, full of the Spirit and full of wisdom, whom we will appoint to this duty. I have that focused on there. Missional operation, duty, the task, what we're doing. And so it's an operational appointment. And so we've thought of different ideas of how to shift that around. And I've just spent a lot of time talking with Nathan about doing that. And so now we're making that shift into quarterly briefings. They're brief. I'm going to explain to you why they're briefings and not meetings soon, but they're quarterly. Outside of those quarterly meetings of deacon and directors that are based on duty and operation, just like the scripture, getting that task done, you are going to have regular meetings with an assigned elder. So Mark is going to assign you an elder, and you will meet with that elder in some capacity. Phone, email, communication, maybe have dinner with your families, and you're going to talk about this ministry and how to further develop that. And I'm going to show you how to do that today as well. So that's number one. This is why we're doing it. It's based on the duty, the operation. And so we are going to have operational briefings. Okay, that's the first thing. Number two, how do you fill out the paperwork for the very next briefing? So we are going to have in a few weeks our first operational director and deacon briefing this year. And you are going to brief for about 5 minutes, 5 separate categories of your ministry. Those 5 categories are right in front of you. Personnel, you have communication, you have finances, you have facilities down here, and then you have your ministry essential task listing, your medal. And then we are going to talk about what you need prayer for in a separate slide. But that's all part of the briefing. Those 5 categories plus prayer. It's its own thing. Okay. And we're going to do those 5 things. You're going to brief each one of those areas. The way that you are going to communicate your operational success or failure in those 5 areas is by saying whether you are green, yellow, or red. And you see that right here. Red is just what it sounds like. It's a full stop. That's probably 75% or below in each of those areas. Maybe it's more or less. You will be the determining factor for that. Yellow is 75% to 99%. I don't have everybody I need, but say I can do my ministry with 3 people instead of 5 I'm asking for, I'm yellow, right? I'm going to have to rush through this to get through it. You know, it's not going to be the safest thing in the world, or it could be a full stop. I don't know. I'm not up to the light yet. That's how I want you to view this. Yellow is not necessarily a good thing. It's a little bit risky. You may or may not be able to do your ministry. And then red, I can't do it. I need something more. And so in each one of these 5 areas, you will be either green, yellow, or red in personnel, communication, finances, facilities, and your ministry essential task listing. Now let's get into each one at a time. Okay, so number 1, personnel. You're going to ask 2 questions about personnel. Do I have the people I need for my ministry? That's currently. So if I need 5 people for security and I have 5 people, I'm green. I'm good to go. Okay, next. Do I have a reoccurring recruitment process? We often do not ask this question. One of the most important, because you're going to go from green to yellow really fast if you don't have that. And so you might be a red here. Say you're in security, Jeff. It could be, I do have guys coming to me and this is happening naturally. And so maybe you're yellow here because dudes like to do security, right? Maybe you're green there and you have guys talking to other guys about being interested in that. And you might be green in both categories, okay? And so that would make you, if I was green and green, I would go up to my top personnel and type in green right here. I'm good to go on all fronts as far as personnel are concerned. That's how you're going to do that category. Or maybe you're in Awana and you have all the teachers you currently need right now. So I'm looking at all my teachers. I'm good to go. I got 5. I'm green. But next year, I was told 2 of the teachers aren't coming back. I don't have a recruitment process. I'm not talking to anybody about that. And so, man, I'm going to be red next year. And so you will be on personnel overall. And this specific one is going to be yellow. Okay. I'm good to go, but I got some things coming up next year that aren't good. And so there you go. So that's how you would do that specific category. It's going to be different for each ministry. And it's okay if your ministry is pretty far out, you don't have anybody you need. Maybe, do I have the people I need? I'm red, but my recruitment process is for VBS and it's going to start in a month or 2 months and it's on the calendar and I'm good to go with Sherry and I've talked to a few people for that. So maybe I'm yellow here. Okay. On question number 2. And so I might say I'm red there. I might say I'm yellow. It depends on how you feel about that specific ministry. Hope that makes sense. That's personnel. And that's how you're going to do this briefing. Just very quickly, hey, I'm yellow on personnel. You don't have to answer both questions, but give a quick summary of it. Next, communication. Here's the 3 questions for communication. Number 1, am I communicating with my team regularly? Am I communicating with my assigned elder? And am I communicating with God for the direction of my ministry? Ask yourself those 3 questions. Am I good to go on those 3 questions? Pretty simple. But let's say you're doing the greeting ministry. Am I communicating regularly with my team? Say I am good to go. I'm green there, but am I communicating with my assigned elder? I have no idea. I'm not talked to that dude. I'm red. Okay. Am I communicating with God for the direction of my ministry? Say I'm just going with the flow and I'm just doing whatever I'm going to do or doing what works. I haven't really been praying about this or seeking the word of God about it or whatever. Maybe I'm red there. And so everything seems good, but I might be yellow overall in communication and put that up here. I hope that makes sense. Again, I'm just kind of trying to think what this would be for each category. And then you would just brief that like, hey, my communication right now, it's yellow. And I really need to talk a little further with my elder, and I'm seeking from the Lord what to do in this ministry. I'm not quite sure. And so pray for me for that. So maybe you're yellow there. Maybe you're green. You're good to go. Finances, pretty easy one. Are my current finances operationally sufficient? This does not mean did I get exactly what I asked for in the budget. It means, can I do the ministry with the money I currently have? And that's what you're going to ask yourself. Can I do the ministry with the money I currently have? Now, you may not be able to, and you need to say, no, I can't. I can't fully do this because I don't have this. And you can be red. When I did similar briefings like this in the military, I would always say I was red here because I needed some things. Anyway, don't do that to me, Jeff. Okay, just joking. Okay, do I have what I need? Now, it might be like, so say with VBS or Awana, you're doing a lot of crafts and you're building a lot of stuff that you could buy, you might actually put a yellow here, like, hey, I can work with this budget, but I'm making a ton of crafts that would be way easier if I bought, and I'm overextending my my volunteers because I don't have enough money to do this. So that might be something that you consider when you're looking at finances. And of course, your finances is just going to be one yellow or red up here. So again, you're going to put yellow or red on each question and on the overall category. Next, facilities. Are the current facilities operationally sufficient? Same, very to the point question. That for most of us, that will be a yes, but also you may be doing your ministry well and not have sufficient facilities. So I think about like the youth group. They may outgrow that youth room upstairs. And I know they're using downstairs for different things right now. Maybe they're going to need a pole barn. I don't know. We've been joking about that. But that could be something where you're like, I'm yellow over here because yes, I do have facilities, but man, it's coming up quick. Or you could think about the bathroom. We've talked about a bathroom downstairs that would fit the needs of the person in a wheelchair. Its own separate bathroom, looks like, is one of the best ways to do that budget-wise. So like that might affect your ministry area. Say you are in charge of adult classrooms downstairs and you know that you have two people in a wheelchair and they can't really use the facilities really well. Man, that you just might be red on that. I'm red because I currently have someone who cannot use the facilities. And that will actually help Judd do his ministry too, because he can look at that facilities piece of everybody's ministry. That's why this helps us to all be in the same room at the same time. But again, this is a briefing. It's not where we solve the problem. It's where we identify the things in our ministry. Okay, so that's facilities. Next, probably the thing that will require the most work in this briefing within the next 2 weeks, please take about a week or so and then turn this in, is the ministry essential task listing, the METL. The mission essential task listing. These are the things I need to do to facilitate the ministry I'm in. And so I wrote some down for lead pastor, because the lead pastor ministry outside of the word and prayer is very much a deacon style of ministry in the day-to-day operation. So I separated that into a bunch of categories. Maybe this will help you. And so you're going to take your overall ministry and separate it into 3 to 5 tasks that I actually have 6 here. That would be fine. That you need to accomplish in order to do your ministry. Essential. Ministry essential task listing. So for me, we have weekly gatherings. Do they build up the body? Are they edifying, like the Bible says, in word and spiritual song and fellowship? Are we building people up with our gatherings every week? Next, does our staff operate with high communication and complete their task efficiently? That's important. Next, are elders shepherding and pastoring the church and training their replacements? Do they know their people? Are they pastoring their people? Next, deacons and directors, are you well equipped with high communication for your ministry? Do you have everything you need to do your ministry? This would just be me separating my job. Again, are the least of these cared for? So the hurting, the widow, the orphan, the elderly, the children, that's a huge priority in Scripture. So it's a priority for us. And then are we clearly articulating the gospel? This is each one of us. Are we training people to articulate the gospel in their sphere of influence where God has them? Are we multiplying the church? Anyway, so that's how I could separate my job into categories. I would like you to do that with your ministry area. And so maybe in security, it would be, do I have all of my people trained and background checked and squared away? Do I have 5 people every single Sunday? I don't know. Is my SOP ready to go? I'm not sure what you need for each piece of your ministry. Only you are. And so you would be separating those things. Think about children's ministry. Do I have proper curriculum for each appropriate age level? Are the children safe and accounted for with a smooth check-in process? Those might be 2 things on yours. Anyway, so you're going to separate in your ministry into 3 to 5 essential task lists. And then finally, your slide is going to be, what do I need prayer for? And make sure, I didn't say this, but make sure you give each one of these task listings a green, yellow, or red, So I could say, one of the reasons we're doing this is to square away, deacon and director ministry. We've heard from people, hey, I'd like, a better evaluation of everything I'm doing. And so this is a piece of that. So we could say yellow right now. Our deacon director ministry, we're working on the communication and equipping everybody for their ministry, especially as we're growing and things get more chaotic. So that's yellow right now. And so you're going to develop those 3 to 5, and you're going to give each one a category. And then based on your categories, you're going to give your overall mission essential task listing a category. And so if any of them are yellow, it's yellow. Okay, that's an easy way of doing that. I hope that makes sense. And you're going to fill this out. So you're going to develop these 3 to 5 things in your ministry, and then you are going to rate yourself on them. I want you to think big picture here, and we'll talk about how to do the subcategories in just a moment. Okay, and then finally, for this quarterly briefing, you are going to do a prayer slide. What do I need prayer for? That could be for your ministry, and that will be your last slide for the briefing. And then we can each know how to be praying for each other. And so that's what we're doing. In a few weeks, that will be what the quarterly meetings are about. And again, when you have everybody in the room, we're all getting a picture of where each other is at. And when you're not briefing, be asking the Lord, what am I learning right now that I can help with? Where can I come alongside of somebody and help them? And, jot that down. And then after the meeting, get with them. Maybe you have a lot of success in one area, and a lot of failure in an area. And, somebody else has gotten up and had a bunch of success in recruiting. Maybe you go over to them and say, hey, how are you doing that? What's some good ideas? And so this is really just a way for us to communicate everything going on with the ministry. It also will really help the staff and the elders have an overall picture of the needs of the church and the needs of the ministry that you're in. And so this is an operational brief. That will be what happens. Okay, so that part. And the third part of the meeting is going to be going further into that brief. So you are going to meet once a year. You're going to meet in between these meetings, these quarterly meetings, with an elder. Mark is going to assign you an elder, and you are going to further develop your ministry with your elder. So your elder's job is to pray for you, is to help you in all of the things you need, is to pastor you. That's his job. And he's going to do that by helping you with this ministry. And so this is a time for you, hey, you can be praying for me or praying for my family this way, or, anything that you would ask a pastor for, ask the elder for. That's what plurality means. The elders are pastors. And so you're going to be assigned an elder, and that elder is going to help you with each one of these categories throughout the year. And they're going to do that by just do this informally over coffee and hang out, or, you can do Zoom over the phone if you're busy. Not a big deal, but you're going to further develop this ministry area, and they are going to help you to do that. And so the way that you do that is by adding in subcategories and just bouncing that off of each other. It's very helpful to do. And so in personnel, you'd be just defining these questions further throughout the year. Don't do this in your briefing. This is for your ministry, and it will help you to develop standard operating procedure or the administrative function of your ministry, and then to train people to replace you, because we should all be thinking about doing that. Anyway, so personnel. It would be, do I have the personnel I need? Maybe you sit down with your elder and you explain your ministry and what you're doing, and maybe you need 5 teachers. And so you would then further define that area. I need 5 teachers. Or you would define your recurring recruitment process and training. I have each of my security guys looking for a new guy, something like that. You might name that out and further develop that with your elder. Again, you will not brief that, but it's going to help you do your ministry so you can really wrap your head around it and understand the operational side of what you're doing in the administrative function, how that helps that. And just you even thinking about that and talking through that really is a very strong part of the process. So next, communication. You're going to develop that further throughout the year. Same thing, finances. This is where you actually write down, how much you spent. You start tracking what you would need more of, what you would need less of. Just for me as a pastor of the organization, as we grow, we need another full-time pastor. And so I am hoping that the next year you have exactly what you got this year and it doesn't raise at all. And we bring in another pastor full-time. So because we grow another few people, that's what I'm hoping. You have the same money next year that you have this year. How do you do that? Look at those finances, break those finances down, plan for, taking care of a bunch of stuff financially this year because everybody got more, that maybe you can use that same amount next year. Start planning that stuff out. Facility, same thing. Plan that out, write down each classroom, each thing that you need. And then where you really kind of make your money on this is in your mission essential task listing to subcategorize those things. And so say you develop your ministry into 5 areas, this is really going to help you to sit down and focus with your elder on, what are the things that God really wants to accomplish in your ministry. So for me, I might subcategorize each of these things this way. So I have my ministry essential task listing, number 1, weekly gatherings. I would separate each thing. What am I trying to do with the word of God? Right now, I'm just trying to get people in the word for themselves, knowing Jesus more through the Gospels. That's what I'm doing. And I know how I'm doing that. So in Mark, I'm looking at the action scenes. In Matthew, we're going to separate the 5 discourses. We've already done all the action scenes, so we're going to look at just the teachings of Jesus. He actually has one sermon that he separates into 5 pieces. We're going to look at that in Matthew. In Luke, we're going to look at how the parables play into all of the minor prophets, and you can see God's spoken word in the Old Testament through the minor prophets actually acted out, in a sense, in the parables. It's just a beautiful thing to see in the ministry of Jesus. You're going to know his teaching further and his life through the scenes further. And then in John, we're going to get into that imagery throughout the whole Bible. And so I kind of know where I'm going with that because I've separated that piece into a subcategory and thought about it and prayed about it, talked with other people about it. Actually, Matthew is just from talking to Mark about what he thinks about Matthew. And so anyway, it gets you talking about those things and into those things a little bit more, but you have to subcategorize your ministry essential task listing to know. So you can think of your larger categories, the ones that you're going to evaluate yourself on, as like goals, and then your subcategories in the mission essential task listing as how you accomplish those goals, and so write that out for your ministry and then evaluate yourself every quarter on that. And then you're going to brief that to the elders and the other deacons, and we're all going to kind of know how each other are doing and growing and be able to help each other with that. And so that's kind of what you're doing with your elder throughout the year. It will really help once we write this all down and put it into a database. We'll be able to evaluate the operational success of our church ministries as we do that this year. So that's what we're doing. And then also the what do I pray for? That should be every meeting with an elder, right? Be praying for each other, be praying for the church, be praying for your families, and just thanking God for the cool stuff that he is doing. So anyway, that's it. I hope that makes sense for you. If you have any questions, please email me, email Mark, email Sherry. But this is what we are going to do for the next year. And I hope that makes sense of why we're doing it, what it is that we're doing, and then how you can make that more clear this year. I have a Word document of what to fill out for the briefing. And then when you get that filled out and turned in, we will put a slides together. And so you'll have the slides that you're briefing And again, remember green, yellow, red, major categories, and answer those questions and develop your mission essential task listing. And we'll just go from there. Okay. Thank you so much. Seriously, thank you for the ministry that you do. I know people often think that a deacon is kind of a lesser ministry, but to me, that's where ministry is done. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where people are meeting Jesus. I think, it is the most essential thing in the church, and it's the backbone of the church. In the army, they used to call NCOs the backbone of the army. That's the people leading the people, and that's what you're doing. And so the success of the church through the years is really because of this deacon ministry being so strong. And as we grow, we're just trying to make that better and make the communication better, because we are growing and we are having things kind of fall through the cracks. And this will really help with the stress level of doing a ministry. So thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to the meeting, praying for you. And thank you so much again for what you do.